Hey everybody, this is Double Crossed Anime, episode 23. We're coming up on the on number 25. It'll be a
Hmm.
quarter of 100. Can we make it? Can we make it to 100?
I will say so. Yes.
I'm kind of doubting it, but I like your optimism, Mario.
All right, because we for sure we're gonna do it until the end of 2019,
Yeah. Uh,
which
the end
is
of 2019.
yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think that was my
yep.
original plan because I wanted to do like an end of the decade thing.
hmm it's gonna be another like 60, 70 more episodes,
Oh my God.
provided that we doing like every single weeks.
Provide that I still like anime in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh,
or we
we're
still
getting
want to do
way
those things.
Yeah, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about what we're going to be discussing today,
All right.
and that's going to be the next batch of Nadia episodes. So we're going from 26 to 30. We
Mm-hmm.
are smack dab in the middle of the filler arc,
Mm-hmm.
like the island episodes, which are kind of infamous. Although we did make some headway, I think, with episode 30.
Yep.
Um, in place of Grand Blue and Planet With, because I'm too picky and we can't seem to settle on an anime, a fourth show we want to cover. We're going to talk about the first 7 chapters of High Score Girl, the manga. And in addition to that, we're doing the next episode of Banana Fish number 6 and review Starlight and Sirius the Jaeger episode 5 of each of those.
All right.
Where are we starting out?
I reckon since we doing the manga chapter, we can talk about it first.
Okay. You've already read you're current on the English translated High Score
The,
Girl, right?
yeah, the online stuff. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I'm brand new to it, so I've
hmm
only read these first 7 chapters. And coming into the summer season, I was pretty excited for High Score Girl just because I had heard a lot of good things about the manga. It ended up being a CG production, which kind of turned me off, and I didn't even give the first episode a look. So coming
hmm
into the manga, I was like, all right, well, I hope this thing blows me away.
It's
And
not.
no, it did not blow me away.
All right.
But by the time I got to the last few chapters in this first group of 7, I was starting to feel the appeal. It was starting to click with me a little bit. How about you?
All right.
I know
All
you've
right.
already like read 48 or 49 chapters. Can you
Yep.
remember that far back how you were like handling it for the first few?
Yeah. I remember like the first few chapters because I was watching the anime first, before like show to read the manga. So actually, the first 7 chapters wasn't the manga chapter that I originally read.
Okay.
So yes, reading it back again, um, I I kind of feel like like the first 7 chapters, like the whole first volume, the first volume has 9 chapters, so we like at the seventh, uh, basically at the setup. So it's kind of like introduce the world, introduce the characters, the 2 main characters, and the games on the games.
Right. Okay. How are we going to talk about the characters? Do you want
How?
to? I mean, in terms of their names, are we calling the main character Haruo?
Yeah, I will call them Haruo and Onosan.
Oh no. Okay.
Yep.
I was going to call her Akira, but he calls her Ono because
hmm
he's not yet gotten to the point where he's going to talk to her by her first, call her by
Yep.
her first name, her given name. So okay,
Yep.
it's good to know. Haruo Beastly Fingers,
hmm
as that's like his self-given nickname, and then
Yep.
Ono. She's the Ojo-san who loves
Games.
coin-operated arcade machines. Yeah.
Yep.
The chapter that I loved the most was the one where he gets sick and she comes
Yep.
over to his house with the printouts, and then
hmm
she plays the PC Engine,
Yep.
like the emulating machine that lets him play a whole bunch of arcade games at home.
Yep.
I think that was chapter 6, maybe. That was the first of the longer chapters, because
Yep.
before that they're just like 13, sometimes 19 pages.
That's right.
But then they bumped it up a little bit in terms
Hmm.
of page count, and so they're able to tell a more complete story. And I really felt that one was pretty good. I could understand her more as a character, first of all, because she never speaks.
Hmm.
But also the reason why he might want to befriend her or might be attracted to her, because before that I was not really feeling the manga's depiction of her as like a clumsy, cutesy um, princess type.
Yep.
So I'm on board now. Now
All
that we've
right.
gotten to the end of these
That
7.
that's good to hear because for me it is the manga is just getting better and better. So I was original hope that like the first few chapter gonna grab you in order for you to read on. So I'm glad that it did.
Yeah, they did.
All right. Yeah, I think for the first few chapters, period to the one that's the one chapter that she go to her his house. Onosan was established as more as like uh the competitors, the rivals.
Right.
Yes, but afterwards it's more like they are companions. They are just like two people who have the same hobbies.
Yeah.
So
And
I
not
kind
even
of see how the dynamic change. Yes.
right. Yeah, exactly. Not even just the same hobbies. Haruo, he reflects more than once in these first few chapters about how they're kind of the same. How they both of them have like frustrations and stress that they funnel into coin-op video games.
That's right.
Haruo feels like he's totally unremarkable, that he's not talented, that he's average and not special,
Mm-hmm.
and games are the one outlet for like passion and creativity that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for the girl, she has, quote unquote, she has everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really, she feels as though she has nothing. She has a really powerful family that maybe she doesn't feel at home with. And she's got an overbearing tutor, and the expectations of everyone around her, including her friends at school, might be too much for her to bear. So
That's right.
instead, whenever it's possible, she abandons that and plays video games.
Yep.
So they're
And
both kind of in the same boat. They're looking to push their lives away for a little bit and immerse themselves in like another world or another culture.
there's one thing about Haruo though is that he actually regarded his hobbies, his gaming as one of his identity.
Right.
So yeah, so he's regarded his all of the arcades that's as like his house, his as like his home. What did he say, like his territories and stuff like that.
Yeah, his territory. I think in one chapter, it might have been the first.
The first.
He called it his sanctuary,
Yeah, yep, that's right.
giving it almost a religious feeling,
Mm-hmm.
which is fitting, I think, because he gets so. And the thing about this manga is that maybe I don't know why it had the shorter chapters at first. Maybe it's because like when you're first getting published in a bigger like a serialized publication.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just try you out to start. They give you the shorter chapters.
Yep.
I know in something like Shonen Jump, they really push their newer titles quite heavily, but that's the biggest manga publication in the world. So for whatever high score girl was being serialized in, maybe they just gave them shorter chapters at first. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is because, in addition to the chapters being shorter, it was kind of telling the same story over and over as
That's
a
right.
way of getting readers' feet wet, maybe, or like introducing them multiple times to the premise to see if it was going to sink or swim.
Mm-hmm.
So that feeling that he has that she's like intruding on his territory
Mm-hmm.
and kind of ruining his experience, that I mean, we get that over and over and over in the first, let's say, 4 chapters or something like that.
Yes, that's right.
which I found kind of unpleasant, honestly.
Mm.
That the same feeling or the same like crux of each chapter was duplicated and repeated.
Yep.
But
All right.
eventually the manga got past that.
Yep. All right. From my own experience, I got the same feeling as you. But now that I read all of the chapters and some of his other manga as well, I can tell you that this guy have like a clear plot mapped out. So I would reckon that the first few chapters are his like are his messiness.
Hmm.
So yes, it's gonna get leaner. Like everything happen for reason. Everything go to like set goals, which I rather enjoyed.
Yeah, that sounds better than most of what we got in these seven.
That's right. And yeah, so I think basically those seven chapters that we read so far it's just to establish the main relationship between Haruo and Onot and and the games.
Yeah,
I think the games feelings like how he would introduce like on the games and the real event happen on that year speak a lot to like the feel of the manga as a whole.
yeah. It does really feel like a nerd's like this guy who's publishing the manga. He's like a nerd's nerd.
That's right.
He's one of them, and he's writing it for them. Because
And
there's that reference to the gaming magazine. It's called
mhm,
Gamist or something.
yep.
In the translation that I was reading, there was a TL note that said it ran from 86 to 99, and this
Mhm,
story is set in 91. You know,
yep.
like right after Street Fighter 2 has hit the arcade cabinets. Um, and so there is and especially like in chapter 7, the one where they hear a rumor
Yep.
about like a 10 yen arcade where a bunch of pro SF2 players go
Mhm,
to like duke it out in their tournaments there and stuff. And this is kind of a pre-internet. Well, it's not kind of. It is a pre-internet era. And
yep.
so those kinds of rumors and those like wild goose chases and um, that kind of does create a time and place feel for the series. So
That's
I
right.
I appreciate that about it.
Yeah. It feels like not us. It feels like it's a kind of memories. It's like we get into someone memories, someone like looking into his past. And I
Yeah.
also appreciate how the mangaka just make everything so easy. It's like every detail about the games, every things about game. Like he know that's like like the back of his hands.
Right.
It's not even like like he's showing off. He just know it. He just do it.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, I don't know anything about the man, but if I had to guess, he probably was Haruo when he was a kid. And maybe he felt,
Properly.
maybe he felt that way. He felt
Yeah.
that he just was on a path to nowhere, and that games were what he loved and what he was good at and what he wanted to do. And
Yep.
I mean, if this is his like big work, it's
Hmm.
it's been published for almost 8 years now,
Yep.
despite the small chapter count, because of the whole you know the legal trouble that he
Yep.
got into. He found a way to make it, not playing games, but writing about them, drawing them.
Yep. And
So he did
the
it.
love of them. Yes, that's right. So one of the spoiler that I will give you now
No, I don't want any spoilers.
is that
Zero spoilers. I don't want any spoilers.
all right. um, so for
Thanks.
those who following the anime, the first seven chapter that we just talking about is like one episode 1.5
Really?
of the anime. Yes. Well, actually, it's like the first two episodes properly, because I remember when we get into chapter 9, it's the end of episode 3.
Okay.
So we're not talking about like the first two episodes of the anime.
So give me an example, like the one where they go to the ghostly arcade
Yep.
that they later find out closed down years ago.
Yep.
How long would that have been in episode 2? Was it like that, like half an episode, or
I think it's about like 8 minutes, eight
real?
to 10 minutes. Yeah, so it's like
Man,
nearly half.
I would figure they would be able to stretch that into like a full episode probably. That seems like a solid plot to just take up
Be,
22 minutes.
all right, because I'm pretty sure that's the chapter 8 and chapter 9 that we will talk about next week. Consists of like the whole episodes of episode 3.
Okay.
So yes,
All right. Well,
and so
then I'll be able to see for sure exactly how the anime is stretching out the manga.
that's right. And the next batch that we're gonna talk about will introduce another main characters, which is my favorite character as well. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Okay. Did
You
you
know, y-
another detail that I got,
r-
speaking of
yep,
the manga like existing in a certain time and place.
yep,
This
yep,
is a small detail, but do you remember in chapter 4 when they were
hmm
playing dodgeball?
yep.
They were all like half the kids were wearing those hats.
All right.
Did you catch that?
No, I didn't
In
catch that.
in chapter 4 in PE class, they're all the kids are, playing dodgeball, and half of them, I guess to differentiate between the two teams, they're wearing
hmm
hats.
hmm
I just, for some reason, that leapt out at me as being like something that the author probably experienced in his childhood. Um, that was how they did it in school. Instead of
Yep,
wearing jerseys or vests or anything,
that's right.
they would wear
hmm
hats.
hmm
I just wanted to point that out.
All right.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I just tell you a tiny bit of spoilers.
No, I don't. I don't want
That
any spoilers.
all right.
I'm literally gonna
It
take off my headphones.
because that not gonna be have anything to do with the plot, so that's why. But it's alright. Let's I think let's get to the another show.
Okay.
Right, which one do you like to do next?
I don't know. Banana fish.
All right, Banana Fish.
That's next. I just scrolled down the page and I saw Banana Fish 6 and then a bunch of bullet points. So I guess we'll do that.
All right,
How'd you like this episode?
I just have one thing to say about Banana Fish this week. All the good ones die first.
Yeah. Well, that was a quote from his dad, right?
That's right, and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
pretty much
what's his?
sum up my feeling about the show so far. That they just like all the new characters that we're gonna know will get introduced and then they kill off very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely happened with Jennifer this week.
Yeah,
And if
that
anyone on this show is a good character, it's probably her, because she's so good that she's willing to stay with Max's like terrible dad, or Ash's terrible dad. I
well,
mean, he even says to her face, like, "You're too good for him. Why do you stay with him?"
yep.
And it's a reasonable question.
And it's all right. This the show so far just run pretty fast to me. Every detail run pretty fast. They get introduced new characters. We know a bit about them, a bit of the chemistry between them and Ash and all the main characters, and then like the whole thing happened and then result, and then we might never see them again. Everything, I reckon this episode would take more would be more powerful if it spread out for like 2 or 3 episodes instead of like like condensed into one like this.
uh, I don't think I agree.
All right.
I definitely feel as though the show moves too fast. We've been harping on it for that like every single week that we've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the stuff in the prison. I thought that like you could have stretched that out to be like
Yep.
movie length, like
Mm-hmm.
Shawshank Redemption type
Mm-hmm.
length. but they didn't. They wanted to get a move on because they got 100+ chapter manga to adapt. But with this one, I really felt like this kind of felt like an episodic drama to me, like an episode of a Cowboy Bebop type series. You introduce the new characters and the new setting.
Mm-hmm.
We learn about them. We learn about the relationship between our main characters and the newbies, and then at the end, they depart. I thought it was reasonable because the thing about this episode is that it's so dedicated to traveling
Mm-hmm.
and dialogue, talking, and the
Mm-hmm.
characters actually getting accustomed to their new location.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stretch that out for too long, or else you run the risk of it boring the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like when
All right.
when there are scenes where they're going to the new house and they all walk inside the house. Shorter with his purple mohawk looks around at the very plain house and says, "This is a nice house." Like how much of that kind of stuff can you pack into 2 or 3 episodes, let's say?
Ooh.
You can't really.
Yeah. Well, but to my defense, I don't really feel any of the new characters. Like I don't feel them as like an individual characters. I feel them more in regarding to Ash. Maybe that's what the show want us to to associate the character with like uh Ash father Jennifer's. They are like how how they treat Ash. But then again, I don't feel any of the characters.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I didn't feel much of anything when Jennifer died. I didn't and I wasn't particularly happy when his dad like gave him his blessing. I don't know
Mm,
if that's the best translation on Crunchyroll's part, but when his dad is impressed that he's fighting a mafia boss and kind of like approves of his son,
mm,
I didn't feel particularly like gratified by that. And
mm,
I think I probably should have if the show is doing its job. But since Banana Fish has created a trend for itself where it's just like pushing and pushing and pushing through its source material,
mm,
what I'm really looking for from it is like I don't know, just how it gets there. I don't
mm,
every single new character that gets introduced, I don't want them to blow me away or be totally fleshed out and interesting because the
mm,
party is already big enough, right? We have Ash, Eiji, Ibe-san, Max,
mm.
and Shorter,
Yep.
and the show hasn't done a terrific job with all five. Some are way out in front
That's right.
compared to
Mm.
the others. So really, I'm looking for those five to get like
More
more
development.
attention, more development, more detail. Yeah, and as far as Jennifer and Ash's bastard of a dad go, like they can get killed off. They can. I don't care.
Yeah. They,
just to
they can
just to put it quickly.
yeah they can live or die. We
Pretty
don't really
much.
mind. Well, so yes, plot wise, I still feel that it's too quick, but I know that that's what we have for Banana Fish, the anime now. How the plot turned out is alright. It actually pretty good for the fight itself. For like how like the resolution is still a bit unbelievable to me. It's still like you have you have a very typical thrillers Hollywood thrillers that have like like someone shot each other, someone died, the police arrive, you can hear the sirens,
Yeah,
and
and they flee.
somehow like on the main catches, like get away with that, you know
Yep.
because like normally the one who get away will get chased down pretty badly. That's just how on these like basic thrillers they doing.
Yeah, I think the most Hollywood thing about it is the trope of like the bad guys come into town. Like the main
Mm-hmm.
characters get away to a rural area where hopefully no one will follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bad guys end up following them to town anyway, and then of course the innocent character has to die because
The
the
bad guy
mafia.
being bad.
Yeah, the bad guys have come to this like sacred place, and as a result, their corrupting influence claims the life of an innocent. That's to me that was the most cliched thing about it. Like, and that's part of why I wasn't really upset at the fact that Jennifer's death didn't have much of an impact on me, was
Mm-hmm.
because like the show just played it so much like a film would,
That's right.
like
Mm-hmm.
a lesser film, not a particularly good or artful one.
Mm-hmm.
But she served her purpose,
Yep.
and to make the dad a little bit more sympathetic, so that eventually when he gets shot and he says, go on, son, fight the
Mafia
fight the
boss.
mafia boss, then you feel good, I guess, or you're supposed to.
Yep. So on other notes, we have Papadino, and is that Mr. Wang,
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee, sorry, who's that team up together,
I
and
wonder about that. I wonder if Mr. Lee won't end up betraying Papadino.
well, how do you feel? So you think that he will end up betraying Papadino?
Maybe. Yeah,
Well,
because the two are at odds, right? They're both vying for control of New York.
mm-hmm.
So there's an opportunity. I mean, obviously the new character who they're talking about, Yut Lung,
Yep.
the dragon who controls the moon or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. He's the guy who's going to be out in Los Angeles, Chinatown, in L.A.
Yep.
And his character is about to kind of take the stage. So at first, I expect I expect him to be following Mr. Lee's instructions and to actually be pursuing Ash and his friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if, because Mr. Lee has such a history of you know, like not a very good history, like a combative history with
Mm-hmm.
Papadino. I wonder if after a while he'll decide, well, this isn't really worth it. Even what Dino promises him, uh,
Yep.
like a cut of the heroin market in Europe, maybe that's not worth it. I just want to stick it to the old man.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of sense that coming down the pipe.
All right, because for me, I sense that he gonna betray Ash and the gang, so I don't trust him. Let's see
Who?
how
Mr. Lee?
bitterly. Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, he's going to at first for sure. That's how Yut Lung will
Yep.
appear.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to tell his man, kill him or track them or whatever. Oh no,
Yep.
not kill him. Doesn't because he wants him alive, right?
Yep. Kill the rest.
Yeah. Well, maybe not Shorter, because Shorter works for Mr. Lee,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
so he might
Um.
want to spare Shorter as well. And I think in the OP, there's a like do you remember the part where there's like fire, ashes,
Yep.
looking at the fire, and a whole bunch of people's silhouettes or outlines are appearing in it.
Right. Right.
There's a guy with a ponytail, like a really long flowing ponytail,
All right.
who I think is probably Yut Lung. And then
All right.
later on in the OP, there's a shot of Shorter
And
standing
that
kind
guy.
of in yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes up behind him and kind of like puts his arms around him. I think it's probably the same guy.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Shorter, I still feel that his character is like terrific. Like
Terrific.
he killed a guy without blinking an eye.
Yeah.
That takes some gut.
Yeah, but you can also tell that he's compassionate because he says to AG, like, don't look.
Yep, that's
He
right.
he takes the guy out to protect AG, and then he further protects him by telling him to shield his eyes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So more than Ash, it's clear that he is still connected to that more like innocent part of himself that can empathize with, I guess, civilians, people who aren't part of the game,
Yep.
which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And for AG this week, he didn't get to do a whole lot, but there was a lot of conversation about him between eBay and Max.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch a lot of that?
I catch them all, but for me it's feel like the rehearsal of like everything we know before, on this information they share to each other.
About
We
him being
on
a pole vaulter?
Yeah, and about him getting injury and having his future shut down in front of him. We all know that before. So it doesn't add up much to me in terms of edgy. It's add up more in terms of of his reporter, how
eBay.
he feel eBay, yeah, how he feel about how he wanted to be edgy when he was young.
Yeah. I kind of I wonder about how that scene was translated. Do you remember when Max was talking about the Amadeus complex?
Hmm.
Like he wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be
Hmm.
like you said, he wanted to be AG. He didn't want to repay him or anything.
Yeah,
I kind of read the scene a little differently.
yeah. It's
I feel like eBay might be like have a fixation on AG or an obsession with him.
That's right, because for the Amadeus complex, it's more about jealousies, and I don't feel any jealousies from Ibe-san to Eiji. At
Yeah.
least not yet.
I almost feel as though he might be like romantically interested in him.
It would have been better than the Amadeus complex stuff.
I think that might be the show's way of shying away from the idea that there's an older man interested in a younger man. I
Mm,
mean, like why if you're eBay-san, why else would you bring a depressed pole vaulter to America with you to help you cover a story about gang violence? That's not
yep.
that's not how you help someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Just a change of scenery. Usually
well,
that work.
yeah, but the scene that you're changing to is extremely dangerous, brutal, and violent.
Hmm.
I kind of feel as though he took him along because he likes him.
Yep.
There was like a bit of like blushing going on when he was talking to Max, and Max was like he was constantly during that conversation he was constantly hinting at something that was never made explicit, and
Hmm.
he says to Ibe-san like you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, if that happened to be, like on the jealousies, on the romantic tension between Ibe-san and Eiji, I would welcome that.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite interesting if the show went there because I'm kind of tired of it going to the same place of sexual abuse
Mm.
that it has multiple times now. How did you feel about that? Um, Ash's history of
Yeah.
being
Well,
abused.
like in real life, actually, it did happen. For the people who get abused at a very young age, tend to be like a pedophile themselves when they get older. But being said that, the way that actors keep like repeatedly, like sexual assaulted by old men, well, I think you can make that one at a time. You don't make that like repeatedly. So this time it's like beating the dead horse.
Yeah,
It's
I
like too much.
yeah, I kind of worry as though the manga or let's say the anime, I guess the story is like fetishizing that sort of thing.
Is it?
It I don't know, it kind of feels like it. It keeps bringing it back up. It keeps
Well,
like pressing the issue.
yeah. It keeps seeing it how painful as does at behave, but I don't think it keep fantasizing, but like yeah, sometimes it's keep pressing it a bit too much.
Yeah, I don't know. Like is it trying to imply that if that's something that happens to you when you're young that will create an instinct for that person to like put themselves in situations where it could happen again, like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. But the thing that I feel that uneasy about that is like how Ash that behave. Like
Yeah.
they all told he told the guys that they told the police and the police didn't do anything, but he the one who should have done something.
Well, he said that he had to like drag his kid to the police station.
Yeah, well, he had to do something with the guide.
Oh, I see. You wanted him to intervene directly with the baseball coach.
That's right, because like it happened against many times before Ash shot down the guide.
Yeah, but I think there might be a reason for the fact that he wouldn't do that. You remember Ash talks when talking about his father to kind of his posse, you know, the party that he's built up for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he and Griff had different moms.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So and remember that the dad says the good ones always die first.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, we know that Ash's mom, after having Ash, she left with another guy.
Yep.
But I wonder if Griff's mom, and Griff
Mm-hmm.
being the older brother, she's the one who would have been together with the dad first. I wonder if she passed away.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so as a result, his heart became hardened. You know, he became very bitter.
Mm-hmm.
And he bore some resentment towards Ash, like his whole life.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Just for being the son of a woman who was like a consolation for him after the love of his life died.
Yep.
And then on top of that, she runs away and leaves him with the kid who he doesn't want to raise.
That's right. Mm.
And you can even feel that in the way that he talks to Ash when he first returns. Like, he has internalized all the things that the cops and the town said about his son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why he accuses everyone who's traveling with him of having been seduced by him, and he even like takes on the role of his pimp by saying, you better pay me. Like,
Yep.
if you want to sleep with my son, that's fine, but you better give me my money.
Yep.
I was that's something that's kind of twisted and dark that I was actually appreciative of, that the show would create a character like that and go that far in you know, just portraying his behavior and how cold and how bitter he is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All the same, though, I'm not sad to leave him behind. Like, I didn't form much of a connection with him. I just liked what the show was doing with him.
Yep.
In terms of those 22 minutes.
So yes, I wouldn't appreciate if they tell us any more about Ash, you know, like previous sexual abuse, because it's happened too often for him. It's become too much to bear.
Yeah, I mean, they've already gone all the way back to age 7. There's no way. I mean, I hope that they will not be dredging any more of that up.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, the plot's about to kick into overdrive, right? Because they just traveled all the way across the country in like a 10-second arrow on a map.
Yeah, in the map.
Yeah.
That's right. And
so
they,
I think once they get to L.A. and
Yep.
they go to the address that was provided by the dead guy
mm-hmm.
in the alleyway, I think we're going to start getting more story and less character. I think this was actually more of a character episode. We learned a lot about Ash, learned a lot about his dad, a little bit about eBay as well.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, Papadino still know his whereabouts. He still know very much about his plan. I wonder if like Papadino have done something with the guy that that everyone going to fight him now.
Done something with what guy?
With the glasses guy, the guy with the glass, the guy who was.
Oh yeah, Abraham Dawson.
Yep.
The scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we learned his name in this episode. Yeah, I'm sure that he's despite his absence from this episode and his like lack of relevance or lack of screen time, let's say, he is still alive, right?
Yeah, hopefully, because I think Papadino is know what us up to. He could do something about that.
Right. Yeah, I
So
think we'll see the scientist guy again.
Yep.
I mean, the show is called Banana Fish. It has to, at least in some way, revolve around this drug, and the scientist is the one who produces it.
That's
so
right.
He'll probably be back. For right now, though, I just want to meet Yut Lung because I really like his design. I like the long ponytail. And how menacing he seems just from what we've glimpsed of him in the opening theme. Plus, he's related to Shorter, so that probably means we'll get more on Shorter, and I love Shorter. So I'm 6 episodes in, I do feel like it moves too fast. You know, we say that every week, but I'm also still interested in watching.
Yep, that's the same feeling with me.
All right, what's next?
Speaking of jealous, let's go to another show that have the whole thing about jealousies.
Were we talking about jealousy?
Yep, we did talk about jealousy about Ibe-san.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes, let's go to review Starlight. Very nice segue.
Yep.
All right, we can go to review Starlight, but let it be known for the
Mhm.
people of YouTube, we were dealing with high dives, bit-starved video quality, and terrible translations. Let it be known.
Well, I I watch that terrible translation every single week, and I have no complaint about that.
Yeah, it was fine. It was all right. I mean, it was so clear, as you've already said. Jealousy was like the theme of this episode. The review, they're all named after different emotions or character traits. This one was actually called the review of jealousy. So because it
Mhm.
was so like laser focused on Mahiru and
Yep.
her feelings about Karen and her how she felt as though Hikari is constantly getting in the way. That
Yep.
was so front and center that you didn't need a particularly nuanced script. It
Yep.
didn't have to be an A+ job.
All right. How you feel about this episodes as a whole?
I think that this one and last week's are still a step down from the first three.
All right.
I thought this one was weird,
Yeah, it's
um,
weird.
but it certainly went for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll pardon the pun, it swung for the fences
All right.
because there was a baseball, like a visual baseball metaphor
Mm-hmm.
in the duel in this week's episode.
That's right.
It really wanted to hit you with as much of the cartooniness and the childishness
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible from Mahiru's perspective. And
Yep.
I guess it succeeded at that. Although
All
I
right.
wasn't honestly I wasn't wild. I wasn't wild about this one.
All right. Because for me, I would rate this episodes like 9 out of 10. I just have like one or two like little nitpick about it.
What are those?
Otherwise, all right. So one of them is not really a complaint, but for the show about for the episodes that have its theme about jealousies, we didn't actually see much about like on the dark of jealousy. It's more like the light-hearted.
Yeah.
Um, because I would expect I would expect before that this one is going to be like the mm, pretty much darker and pretty much more like uh emotional,
Yeah,
which
this show's pretty damn lighthearted.
yeah, which is not.
Yeah, I
So
mean, well, we in that clip, that news clip that we see with Mahiru talking about what kind of star she wants to be,
mhm,
and she says, that she kind of echoes Karen, honestly, in a way. Their philosophies and their outlooks on life are
that's
like
right.
mirror images of each other,
Mm,
um, which should make it all the more painful that she can't be with her because they do seem to be, a fit.
mm,
Um, but the show doesn't, like you said, it doesn't delve into that pain. It doesn't dig into that emotion.
yep,
But I think the reason for that is because Mahiru is such a positive person.
right.
She says to the news reporter, "I want to be someone who can help everybody shine."
Yep.
You know, so yeah, the show just doesn't seem to go there in general, right?
Mhm,
Have we ever gotten an episode where I guess Juna at the start in like the
y-
first two,
yep. But
her
it's not as dark as we thought it to be. It the show as a whole is really lighthearted. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that the other shoe is ever going to drop at this point. I mean, we're 5 episodes in out of 12 or 13.
Mhm.
We're almost halfway there, and I don't expect it to take a turn or a twist.
And I think my second issue is oh, I actually don't remember my second issues. So we can talk about the other things now.
Okay.
I and it might come back to me. What I like this episode the most is the actually the comedic timing. Like every time that you see my hero having some kind of fixation to Karen's like objects
Right.
stuff.
Like her towel or
Yeah.
her water
Uh,
bottle, where she's going for an indirect kiss,
yep.
as anime loves to do.
We will have he carry just like stand in the way.
Yeah. Well, she always says the same thing too. I forgot something.
Yep. That's pretty funny to me
And
actually.
then Mahiru goes, "Yeah," and throws it.
No, after a long pause,
Yeah.
there's a comedy timing there.
Yeah,
Uh,
that always made me smile.
yeah, and the second thing that I like is how when the review auditions, they actually like stay crushing on others audition as well. So now we know that for the audition, there's like everyone participate in that.
Yeah, that was cool that you could see them
Yeah.
all overlap, and then there was a bit of dialogue about, like some of the participants in the reviews and the duels would say, "Don't get distracted," or
Yep.
"Don't look
Hmm.
away. I'm your opponent right now."
Yep.
That was
So
that was pretty inventive.
yeah, I think like where it is, it's still very original. The fight itself and the song is pretty good actually. It's very catchy. It's very easy to listen to.
A lot of people are speculating that the song,
Hmm.
Mahiru's song and the performance, that the reason that the fan subbers are taking so long this week is because it's very difficult to hear because there's so
What's
much dialogue
systems?
on top of it.
All right. I
So it's
think
hard for
that's
them to translate.
I think that's one one of the auditions where we actually hear the singing, not the people talking like overlapping with the singings.
I was getting a lot of overlap. In fact,
Yeah.
yeah, High Dive doesn't even translate the songs for their weekly
Um,
releases. They go back and they put the songs in later. But I mean, when you were watching the HS rip,
yep.
there were no lyrics for the songs, were there?
No. Yep. No.
Yeah, the ones that I watch every week have the, because I watch the ACSS sub job. They
Mm-hmm.
always have the translations.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
and so you can look at those and see how they sync up with what kind of review it is, like what the title is, and how it meshes with the theme of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And if with this one in particular, I feel like that would have been nice because it's so abstract, or I don't know, not abstract, because it's pretty clear that the reason that there are those cartoon versions of Carrot and Mahiru is because that's what's going on in Mahiru's head. She even
Mm-hmm.
says there's a line that she has saying that her review reflects what she wants and also what she doesn't have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just but all the stuff with the baseball and like the cats,
Yep.
that went over my head. I didn't understand the significance of either of those things. How about you?
Well, I don't either. Just I think it's just like one of the show quirk, but I kind of enjoy it.
What about the very last shot, um,
Off. Yep.
where it's back in Karen and Hikari and Mahiru's room, and the camera kind of pans over her bed and ends up focusing on the stuffed cat holding the baton.
All right. So let me just say that the stuffed cat is my hero, and the baton is obviously her weapons of choice. Her
Why is she
choice
a
of
cat?
weapons. I have no idea, but I remember that he carried was the sweet, I think, last week. So yes, I think maybe they have like the animal code for all
Wait,
those characters. Maybe
what was Hikari last week?
you remember like she when she goes to all of the aquariums and then she buys one of the sweet hat.
I don't remember that. I guess I forgot about that. The only
All right,
animals I remember from last week were jellyfish. She keeps taking pictures of the jellyfish.
maybe jellyfish. Yeah, all right, jellyfish. It's it. Yep, it make more sense. It's jellyfish. So yes, maybe
Her
he.
her being a jellyfish, that would be strange.
Well, we're not sure of anything about this show actually.
Yeah, you're right about that.
But yeah, I think in some way, like they want to connect her character with a cat, so that's why we see like some random cat just appear on stage.
Yeah, or and also in the like the fact that it was the very last shot, I wanted to get some more like significance from that. I wanted to feel something,
Hmm.
like make some sort of connection, and
Yep.
and I didn't. And I think the reason for that is because this episode was, in large part, very straightforward. Despite the
That's right.
strangeness of the actual duel at the end,
Mm-hmm.
it was it took a very tight and focused look at
That's right.
Mahiru as a character. And I think that straightforwardness kind of took away from my appreciation of this episode. I really want it to be weirder, be darker, just be stranger, and not in like a cartoony, a cotton candy kind of way.
Yeah.
Just in a very weird and even I would even like it to be a little bit more off-putting.
Yeah, but I would reckon that's the candy looking that we see in this episode was only to my hero herself, because that what her character is. For
Right.
other characters, we will have like some more, like others, maybe darker implications.
Yeah, like Juna, the fact that
Yep.
all the golden, you know what I kind of felt was a like an imposing image was in her fights, all those golden mannequins.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The idea that she could get lost among them and like lose her identity because she wasn't living up to the expectations that she set for herself.
Yep.
That was an image that I was really struck by and that I could really like get behind and sink my
Mm-hmm.
teeth into.
Yep.
And I didn't get anything like that from this episode.
All right. The thing about how the show frame my heroes jealousies is not actually about jealousy, but about like her insecurity about her shyness. Like she see herself as like untalented
Yes.
amongst other girls, and so she just I think she just fixation. She had a fixation to Karen because she she want to make her shine.
Yeah. I mean,
So
honestly, I feel like she just has a crush on Karen.
yeah, that exactly it. But yeah.
But Karen is also the kind of character who wants to include everybody, and
Mhm.
the same way Mahiru does. And even as Mahiru holds that as a part of her, her personal belief or her philosophy. At the
Yep.
same time, she also wants to be included herself.
Hmm.
So,
Yep.
which is probably why she's drawn to Karen.
Yep.
Yeah, and to have that, to feel as though that person or that feeling is being taken away from you would like just talking about it out loud. It makes me wish that it had gone to that more emotional place, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Well, because I would expect that it will be more emotional, but I I think I like what I have.
Yeah.
So what what is the strange thing that I see in this episode? It's not
What's that?
like all the reviews of do, but the fact that they talking giraffe drinking water on the very first screen that we see him in this
Right.
episode.
He's drinking
It's
out of
just
a
a weird.
fountain, right, with a bunch of like 50 or
Yeah.
100 yen coins in it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Well, yeah. That picture. That pretty strange. That pretty weird. But I love it.
Yeah, the giraffe he's definitely strange.
Yep.
That's he shows up every week and does his weird thing. I'm starting to take him for granted.
Yep.
He's not factoring into the show the same way that for example, the judge in Yurikuma Arashi
Yep. Yep.
does,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
or the guy in Penguin Drum. What is that? The guy who keeps saying "shibireru ne."
Yeah.
Isn't it electrifying? I
Yeah.
think is the English translation. Whoever that was, I can't remember his name or even what he looked like.
Mm-hmm.
But the giraffe isn't like, I don't know. He's not being inserted. He's not taking any particular role in the story other than being the giraffe who's down there
He's a
when the.
judge.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep. And now we you actually remember what is he carry weapons?
Um, no, I forget.
It's the dagger. It's the small knife.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
What? That she has a dagger?
Yeah.
Does that make you think that she's going to betray people or something? Like that's an
Nah.
assassin's weapon, or
Yeah, no, that's like it's kind of weapon, like have a very small like impact, very small like injury impact, but it used for close combat, so it speak
mm,
a bit to like her characters. Like see,
mm,
as opposed to Chuna use the bout, which is like the not so close combat. So yeah, it kind of speak to their characters, and I don't know what that is her using a dagger, which
I
signifies something of her characters.
I mean, I kind of associate daggers with like the phrase
I,
cloak and dagger,
yeah, the
meaning
assassins.
yeah, like kind of ruthless and like cold-blooded, stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And she has expressed like unwillingness to let Karen participate in these games,
Yep,
probably because she plans on winning and being the best and taking everybody else out. So that could easily foreshadow her like destroying Karen in some way.
I don't think so though. But it's an interesting take. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh man, we've only done 3 shows or 2 shows
Yep.
and
All
most
right,
of a volume of manga. We're already up to 56 minutes here.
all right. So let's go to the last show. I don't think we have much to talk about this show. So
Oh, I do.
all right, let's go to the last show of this week. Tenru Zero the Jaggers.
Yeah. The
All right.
subs were. Did you watch Mott Bob's release?
Yeah, I think I watched that.
Mott
The
Bob is
sub
Mott Bob is a hero.
hard wide.
Because he's just been doing it for or his group, his subgroup, because it's not a one man operation. They've been doing it for so long.
All right. The sub that
Um,
I got is actually Yev Grab Shama.
yeah.
All right, that's him, right?
No. What?
Yev Grab Shama.
Yev
Yep.
Yef
Yep.
Graf.
Why? Yeah. Yep.
Yevgraf.
That's him. Yep.
Yeah. No. Mott Bob is the subber, the fan subber. That's who I'm talking about.
All right.
And so I mean, all of this to say, I appreciated how good the subs were this week.
Oh, yeah, because my sub is really bad. Oh, it's bad in a good way actually, because like whenever they mention everything of the Jaeger, they will have like the explanation that Jaeger is the vampire slayers every single time. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
they.
No, you didn't watch the Mott Bob release.
All right.
You watched something else.
Yeah, I watch something else.
Oh, my condolences. uh, I thought the subs because I didn't have to watch Rack's release. So
Yep.
I was happy, and I think like how good the subs are, just how consistent, and how much personality they're able to give to the characters. I really think that has a lot to do with your appreciation um,
The show.
of yeah, well, anime or cinema, anything that's not in your native language. Because I
Yep.
loved this episode.
Wow. Right. You know
I
what?
loved it. I thought it was
At
badass.
all right. At the end of this episode, you should give me the uh his sub, so I can see again for myself.
Yeah, I'll link you to it. It doesn't have translators notes that explain what a Jaeger is every single time.
Yeah. Well, I think
So
it's become like a gags, because like
yeah,
every
I think
every
so.
single time they said Jaeger, they will be like slammed by vampire slayers.
Yeah, I think it was probably those might have been troll subs.
That's right.
But
So
yeah, I thought this episode was awesome. It brought all the
wow.
characters together instead of having them all being off wherever in the middle of the city and doing their own thing.
All
Um,
right.
it gave them somebody to be involved with, like um, a clear threat, like a clear plot. There's a runaway train. What are we gonna do? It
All right.
explored the relationship between Yuli and Mikhail, but
Yeah.
also didn't clear up every single question and left me wanting to know more. It
Mm.
finally gave the girl something to do when
Yeah.
she beheads the vampire with the katana or the
Yeah.
sword, whatever. So
Mm.
she finally got to be cool. It
Mhm.
finally clued that black-haired intelligence officer into the fact that there are vampires. So
All
now he
right.
doesn't have to walk around the city just wasting my time and everyone else's time. The action scenes were cool. There was some nice animation, like when they were on the roof of the train and it was raining and it was wet.
Yep.
You could tell that the characters were slipping, like losing their footing
All right.
in some places.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I thought it was the whole package.
All right. For me, I'm not a wow about these episodes, like about these shows overall. I think it's the same kind of quality that we have seen in previous episodes. It for once the Frankenstein monster, like he just appear, get in some random fight and he died, like no one noticed him.
Yeah, and so did the guy from the Hyako party, the ninja
Yep.
with the face paint and the horns and stuff.
That's right. He also just quickly appear and quickly gone. So
Well,
now
he
there's
didn't
like
like
no.
he didn't quickly appear. We've seen him in almost every episode before this one. Maybe
We
not the
just
first.
we just seen him last week actually.
No, he showed up before that.
Really?
Yep.
All right, because like last week he just came into my attention.
Yeah, that's because he was part of the cold open, so he's like the first thing you see.
Oh, all right.
But he showed up before that too.
Mhm.
I think in episode 2, which is the first one, maybe the first one, where they, there's that string of murders that the cops are
Yep.
all up in arms about. There's people smearing blood on the walls with messages and stuff. I think you see him then.
All right. So he's the one who's spilling on the blood message.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Right.
and the fact that he was being funded by the Alma company, which is why the black-haired intelligence officer was,
Mm-hmm.
running around and freaking out and trying to piece everything together.
Right. So yes, for I actually very appreciate about the dynamic of Yuri and his brother, Mikhail. That's like I think that is like the emotional core. That's I have been telling like every single week now, and yeah, it getting more and more ambitious, which is good. Like we don't really know if Mikhail will be like his friends or his enemy. They will become the enemy sometime, but it's I think his Mikhail is more looking into Yuri as the one who killed him, the one who killed him off.
What do you mean? Do you mean
Like
Mikhail like blames Yuri
no,
for?
it's mean like he Mikhail know that he have at some point he will have to die.
Oh, and he wants Yuri to be the one to do it.
That's right.
Yeah, like he's looking for death.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that, and that's the way it might go. Or, alternatively, Mikhail might sacrifice his life to save Yuri.
That's right. The thing that Mikhail talk to Yuri is I can buy most of the time, except for Mikhail telling Yuri that he's not he doesn't like sign in to be vampire killer, vampire slayers for hatred. So it's more like because Yuri is confusing.
What's that?
Yeah, I think that's what he meant. Like, Yuri is like like confusing about his role, so he just like side up as the Jaeger in order to kill the vampires.
Yeah, he
And I
was.
don't.
Mikhail was kind of mocking him for that,
Yep.
and he was, like, he was even mocking. He was mocking his brother in general. Do you remember? I don't know what your sub said, but do you remember that scene where it was after they had the conversation in the train car,
Mhm.
and when they were back fighting the Frankenstein monster,
Yep.
and like Yuri and the Frankenstein are kind of going back and forth, and then
Mhm.
Mikhail shows up and he says something to Yuri, like, you were always toddling after me.
Yeah. That's right.
he kind of insults him, like he's looking down on him, not just because he's the older brother and Yuri's the younger brother, and he can't finish off this Frankenstein. So now Mikhail's going to be the one to do it in very stylish fashion, I might add. But he's also like the way that conversation is framed, he's looking down on him in every possible sense, like as an older brother, as a vampire looking down on a Jaeger, as someone who has like gained so much more power to someone who has less, because he's got like werewolf blood and vampire blood, I suppose, and he's all like hooked into the vampire community or the vampire order. He's become a favorite of Yevgraf, who's the head guy. Because Kirshner is on the train, and he says, like, don't get a big head just because you're Yevgraf's favorite. And then after the fight is over, he says something to Yuri about the serious arc, which we still don't know anything about. But the nice thing about that scene is that it ties the relationship between Mikhail and Yuri to the overarching arc of Sirius plot.
Well, is that the dynamic that you got? Because I don't see that dynamic, but it kind of makes sense. This superiors complex.
Yeah, he's constantly taunting. He's taunting his brother. He says, "If I see you again, I'll kill you."
Yep.
And then he sees him again, but he doesn't kill him. So I think that, and in fact, he takes out the Frankenstein monster, that was giving his brother a hard time. So I think that right there is a clear signal that even though he's making these threats towards Yuri, and even though he's belittling him, he's still going to protect him. And he, in the end, like we were speculating about earlier, he will probably give his life or forfeit his life one way or the other.
All right, it's your subset the act of Sirius, because my subset that's the Sirius box.
Oh, that's definitely wrong.
Oh my god! And I was thinking of like the other things. That's why I didn't link into that like Sirius box and the act of Sirius. God.
Well, that's just something that he said. Like, you remember how he puts the grenades in the Frankenstein monster's mouth and it blows up?
Yep.
That was awesome. But also, right after that happens, he starts to talk to Yuri about how he's going to be the one, how Yuri will be the one to control like the arc of Sirius, and then there's some dialogue about him, like the life and death, the balance between life and death, being controlled by the person who wields it.
Yeah.
And then the third grenade, the one that's on the ground, goes off, and Mikhail disappears.
All right, because I don't really get all these. Myself didn't say much about all these.
Yeah,
all the things that he said before that.
I'm gonna link you to Mott Bob's.
Yeah,
episode.
please.
Will do.
So all right, because I blame it on myself, but I don't really enjoy it that much.
Yeah, I really do think as though subtitle, like the quality of an encode too, how it looks visually. Because the Review Starlight episode that I just watched, the Horrible Subs rip, had like terrible banding all over it whenever there was any scene that was relatively dark. It just looked like somebody ate a bunch of licorice and then vomited it out in a bunch of like differently toned streaks. It was terrible. But yeah, right. Subtitles matter too.
That's what I feel lately, because on the show I actually really appreciate the subtitles, like how they can translate it into into the meat of it. And yep, so you definitely have to link me that subtitle that you got. Will do. Right, is there anything else that you want to talk about, Jaeger?
Yeah, there are a few more things I could say, but they're all about like minor production elements, not about this story really. I'm just really glad that the intelligence, that everyone was gathered in one place and their stories kind of started to intertwine. So
Mm-hmm.
now the guy with the black hair, he knows about vampires. Now
Yep.
the girl who we saw training, like doing kendo
Yep.
in the first episode, that promise has finally been fulfilled.
Yep.
And she may move towards becoming a Jaeger or something, like
Yep.
using those combat skills in a more dedicated and more like fulfilling and extensive way.
Yep.
So I think
So
the show may have finally arrived, so to
yep.
speak.
So basically, like every character is on the same page now.
Yes.
Every speak, yes.
Now I'm not totally confident that that's going to stay the case
Yep.
as we proceed, but
Mm-hmm.
this episode had me hopeful. So we'll
All
see
right.
whether those hopes come crashing down.
Uh, or not.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's
What's
get to the
next?
let's get to the last shows. That Nadia. That is Nadia's Secret of Blue Water.
Oh my god.
All right. I will tell you.
Why?
I will tell you our friends that this batch that we got is at episode 31 to 35. Is it
26 to 30.
it's 26 to 30? Thank you. Is the lowest points of Nadia's Secret of Blue Water.
Oh, of course. These are the island episodes. We knew what we were getting into.
Yeah, I even think that episode 26 and 27 was the worst.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Episode 26 is
It's
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 just laughable.
it's just all about kissings, and yeah,
Yeah, at the start. Because Nadia's pissed off because he doesn't remember their first kiss because of the mushrooms. Like at the end of episode 25 when he eats all the mushrooms, haha, very funny. Let's move on. But then the show tries to bring it back and use it as a plot point in the development of their relationship and like as an obstacle.
mm-hmm.
That I, and then after that, he like has a dream where he falls off a cliff and strikes oil and then uses it to make a bunch of inventions.
Yeah,
And then he makes a ship to take Nadia to Africa, and then it blows up. And then he wakes up and it was all just a dream.
that
Are you
actually
serious?
actually episode 27, but yes.
No,
Well,
that's all episode 26.
is it?
Yeah,
That's the
episode-
one where
episode
King is
27
missing.
Yeah, episode 26 is the one where King is missing. That's why
Oh, right.
it all happens in episode 26 because John, like, Nadia says to John, go search on the mountain.
Yep.
And that's when he falls off the cliff and all the inventions and stuff. Like the
Alright.
montage where he drills for oil and establishes that refinery and stuff. That lasts like 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden he presents all those inventions and it's terrible.
Nah, well, it's still fun to me. Like on those, it's still not unbearable. It's still like entertaining for me to watch. So even like the worst point of Nadia isn't like completely turn me off.
Man, I was ready to pass out.
Um,
I mean, I still like the characters cuz 20 how far did we get before the filler kicked in? 23, right?
23. Yep.
Yeah, 23 episodes of good story and fun characters. That's
Yeah.
not going to be undone by whatever's going on right now. At least
Yeah.
not totally. But I was still like rolling my eyes and slumping over in my chair. Halfway through I had to like unhook my laptop from my monitor and go lay down on my bed and watch like half awake. Because I couldn't like stay sitting up as I was watching. It was like sucking my energy out of my body.
Well, I still like those things. Not that it's very good, but it's still alright. But yes, like when the other characters, the Grandis gang, are introduced again, and
28.
in 26, yeah, from 28, and actually the last episode got me hooked again.
Yeah, there was a good bit at the end of episode 30
Yep.
where they go into that like underground labyrinth,
Yeah, that's right.
which kind
Yeah.
of looks and feels like the one like the tubes that they traveled through at the South Pole.
Yep, that's right, that's right. And then Nadia just disappear.
Right. Like we saw twice whenever Nadia's name was spoken out loud, the blue water reacted.
Hmm.
And even the environment that they were in that maze underground, it also
Yep.
reacted, and she went through that wall.
Hmm.
But
And
even the first half of that episode was totally like bizarre. It's the one where the Gratin, like the robot,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Grandis and Ireton go to drink some wine or something, so they take the
Yep,
robot, and then Hansen has to build another one, and so he comes up with like a cart with a bunch of blades on it, the two pigs.
yep.
It like
Where
that
where
was
are
that
the
was just dumb.
where are those pigs come from?
Well,
We
there's
never
also a
knows.
goat. There's also a goat on the island because
Well,
Nadia.
they actually mentioned about the goat. So like they didn't know where it's come from, but there is a goat. But for the pigs for the boar, they just come from nowhere. Actually,
Yeah,
they they just
that's
appear like completely randomly.
well. If there could be a goat on the island, why not a couple of like boars? Why
All
not?
right. All right, I'm actually see that somehow these episodes, like the last episode, speak to the also the theme of Nadia. Nadia is always a show that tell you the conflict, the conflict between the natural and the science,
Hmm.
and how the science between two advanced that it in turn like creates the naturals. So now we have like the before we have like on the flowers that are completely like scientific created. Now we have like the whole island that was created, like artificially.
Right. Yeah. Are you talking about the fact that we're seeing those iron plates?
Yep, yep,
Like even in episode 29, that's the one where it's like king versus king, the
yep,
race with the two robots.
yep,
And Jean jumps off the cliff to try to get the batteries back, and when he's on the ocean floor, he notices that iron plate.
yep,
And then in the next episode, he sees it again on land, and he also sees those five beams of light underwater.
yep. Hmm.
To me, the design of those plates kind of looks like the design of the blue water, how it has all those like
Oh,
intricate patterns, the lines
yep.
that run through it.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm thinking that the island might actually be like of Atlantean design.
Yep, yep. At first, though, I think that's that mysterious island is more of like the turtle island. Where is
Yeah,
where they
like the
actually
myth of the world turtle.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I kind of half expect when John going down to like to the water to retrieve the king's robot, he will see like the face of the turtles.
Oh,
But it would be interesting, but it turned out that he fight on the iron plate.
right. Yeah, I wonder what those five shafts of light were.
I think it's yeah, I don't know as well.
Something having to do with. Maybe the ship itself is kind of like a submarine.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
it's It wasn't there in one of these episodes at a certain point? Didn't we see like a whole bunch of submarines?
Yep.
Does that
And
sound familiar?
one of them apparently look like the Nautilus. They're
Yeah.
hanging in the air.
Was that when they went down into the labyrinth in episode 30?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe this island is like it might be like the new Atlantis. If they have all those subs, it would kind of function as like a home base.
Hmm.
And obviously their home world is destroyed.
Hmm.
So maybe
Yep.
it's kind of functioning as like a, you know, what's the word? A carrier.
Yep.
It's got all those submarines on it. It kind of carries their navy, and It also has its own ecosystem up above.
Or maybe it's just the original Nautilus or the original um what was the other submarine
The other
uh
submarine,
of Neo. Oh
the
my god.
Garfish.
Yeah, the Garfish.
Those are the submarines that Gargoyle has.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's just the original submarine. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it might be something that predates all the stuff we've seen so far, like the original
Yep.
ancient technology. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's pretty clear that it's Atlantean because
Mm.
Nadia is like disappearing and the blue water's reacting all over the place.
Yep.
And to her name specifically.
All
So that
right.
yeah, that at least puts us that episode at least puts us on like proper
The
footing going
Yep.
forward. But the
That's
island
right.
episodes are not over. Like they extend for a little while after this.
Yeah. I yeah, from what I heard from you last week, like the last few episodes from the island actually picking up gear again. So
I
I hope that we reach to that point
I think
already.
30 and 31 is
Yeah.
what I mentioned. So
Yep.
that's we've already seen one of those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried that after 31 it's going to go back to
So
just
maybe just like I don't know,
pointlessness.
one or two polynes. I
Yeah.
don't really appreciate like the fight between the two robot, the two king robot. It just
Yeah,
doesn't
I
add up much.
literally wrote in my notes for that episode, the first half of this episode is a bunch of bullshit. I wrote that down because I couldn't think of I like it was just totally escaping me how else to comment on it. And
And,
then thankfully John actually like found the metal plate on the sea floor at the end. So I was like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. Something that I can actually look forward to. Some kind of mystery that I can like grab hold of and pray for that like that it'll be resolved or explained." And it was.
and how do you think about the additional characters?
You mean Ireton?
Yep.
I thought it was a strange choice to bring him back after him appearing in like episode 3.
Yep. I don't even remember him at first.
Yeah, when he was just a head in the sand and he was buried,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't recognize him.
It,
When he said his name, I remembered.
all right. Because when they mentioned his name and his face, I was like, oh my, did I see him before?
You did, but
Yeah.
he was like a serial liar and not very important.
Yeah. And I still don't know how to feel about his role.
No, you don't have
Like,
to feel anything about it.
bec-
They brought him back for no
for
discernible
what?
reason.
I because I at first I think they brought them back in order to like make him become a suitor for Grandis, or maybe like the challenge for Hansen and Samson
Hmm.
at the possible suitor for Grandis, but after on the plot going on, I think he might serve for something like much bigger of the plot.
Why?
He
Because
might
of his social status, him being a count.
I think he because he might have some connection with Gorgos or with Gargoyles or something, or maybe he's the one who will tell on the informations, who leak on the information to Gargoyles. I
Now,
don't know why I have that feeling.
I think you're desperately searching for a reason for these episodes to have existed,
Hopefully,
uh,
yes.
and I don't think you're gonna get that. I
All
mean,
right.
it's nice that episode 30 tossed us a bone,
Yeah,
but
we got it's just meaningless. You mean?
yeah, I mean, think about episode 27. That's the
All right.
one where what happens in that one? That's the one where Jean makes those pot stickers to
Yep.
try to get Nadia to eat meat again
Yep.
for no reason, because the show has already done that to death.
All right.
That's the one where
That is
oh
there's a thunderstorm.
yes no yeah there's a typhoon. That's right. That's the one where there's like a minute long discussion between Jean and Mari out in the boat on the water of
Yep.
like marriage and engagement, and is it possible to get married on an island where there's no church and no court? And
Mm-hmm.
the whole time they're talking about it, it's just a still image of them in a boat with their mouths not
Oh,
moving.
yeah, that's right.
There was a ton of that
The
this
the
week, like where characters' mouths not moving.
the worst that I seen is like the four of them. I think that was in either episode 26 or 27, where the four of them, John, Nadia, Mary, and King, run across the forest,
Yes, yeah,
and they were talking. They looked off model. The mouth wasn't even move. So
yeah,
that was pretty bad.
yeah. That was bad indeed. Episode 27 was my least favorite in terms of appearance because that was the one where it was clearest that this like production was being done by some South Korean studio.
Mm.
The Gainax is not on the case because like John, his facial features looked like Astro Boy,
Yep, yep.
and Nadia looked completely derp faced. Like she did not look like herself at all. Um, Mary and King looked okay, but they definitely looked different. Like King's eyes were just like little black beads, as opposed to being fuller and more expressive as they are in other episodes.
Yep.
And it was just so like
No,
I don't know. It was
all
bad.
right. Is it ruin you of the whole Nadia experience?
No,
All right, that's good.
no.
That's good then.
I just recognize that these episodes are terrible. I mean, I was prepped for this because of how Ava and Kare Kano, his and her circumstances, they both broke down in terms of their production schedules. So I was ready for this.
Yep.
For this one, it stretches longer than either of those other two, but the show is also longer at 39 episodes instead of 26.
Yep.
Um, so whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all a wash for me, except for 30.
Yep.
That's pretty much all
So
I have to say about it.
yeah. So yes, I'm actually really looking forward to what going to happen next.
I'm not. I'm just afraid there's gonna be more crap.
Nah, it's alright because like after the next batch, we will get to the good stuff again. Like
Yeah,
after
but the show will
some few
practically be
the
over.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the next show that we will cover. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm still
that's gonna be good. So
yeah.
that show is only 3 weeks away at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, not this is the lowest. Yeah, like I said, this is the lowest Nadia point
So
ever
far,
so far.
we
I think
still have
ever.
we still have room to go down. It
we had
remains to
some
be seen.
we had some more episodes, but like the length it isn't that long. We have pretty much like 4.5 episodes of pretty bad Nadia episodes, and save for the last 10 minutes of episode 30. So it length wise, it couldn't get any worse.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
Yeah, I'm cool with it though. I still like the show.
Yep. I still really like it. Like even like at its worst, I still pretty much enjoy what I see in like on screen. It's just like it doesn't offer me much anything to talk about. It just feels like pointless. But like it's a fun kind of pointless.
Fun, kind of pointless. That's a
Yep.
backhanded compliment if ever there was one.
All right. And yep, any closing thought for the week?
No, nothing too pressing. I guess we're gonna figure out how we want to do High Score Girl going forward. I'm looking forward to reading more, so we'll figure
Mm-hmm.
out whether we want to catch up
Yep.
and go all the way to the end of Volume 2, or continue doing 7 chapters at a time.
All
Since
right.
Mario has read all that, he will help us figure out how that will
I
go.
I will see like the where the last chapter when the live after of volume 2 gonna be, and I will tell you about that.
Okay. We're gonna get it done in under a minute and 30, as long as we sign out now. So
All right.
goodbye,
Yep.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. See you next week.